Right. Well, we've learned how to graph quadratic equations, specifically ones that look something like this. Y is equal to x squared minus 12x plus 36. And the way that we graph these quadratic equations is we had to start by finding the line of symmetry, because our parabola, when we graph one of these things, it can be in all sorts of different locations, right? Sometimes it's centered right on the y-axis. Sometimes it's over here or over here. And we need to know, where is the center of our graph? We need to know, is it right on the y-axis? Is it down here in the negative land, or is it up here somewhere positive? Now, we had a formula to do that. We used x is equal to negative b over 2a, using the coefficients for the a and the b. A is 1 in this case, b is negative 12. Oops, negative 12. So we would use whatever these coefficients are, 1 here, negative 12 here. And all that does is it tells us where our starting point is, right? We want to find some points on our parabola. We've got to find some x and y values. And so we need to know, where do we start filling these numbers in? And this formula basically tells us this very first x value to use. That's going to tell us how we can find our vertex. Remember, the vertex is the very first xy point, right? It's going to be this xy point that it's at the very top of our parabola or the bottom of our parabola. That's going to be the vertex. And whatever we get for this line of symmetry value is going to be that x value. That's a lot of work. And so we're going to learn today, and here is something called vertex form. Now, I'm going to rewind a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about some differences between linear equations and quadratic equations, just so we can remember. Linear equations are first degree, right? They have just a regular x. They don't have an x squared. The highest power of any variable is just 1. And so the standard form of a linear equation is something like ax plus by is equal to c. This is the standard form of a linear equation. It's got an x, it's got a y, and then it's got some other numbers in it. For quadratic equations, you're probably familiar with y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. It has x's and y's in it, but it also has this x squared, and then it has a, b, and c. Again, it's just some other numbers that make the graph do different things. Those are standard forms. We also have, in linear equations, a form that's a little more helpful to us, especially when it comes to graphing. You all know it as slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. It still has an x and a y, but then the m and the b tell us things about the graph. M is the slope of the line, b is the y-intercept. Well, quadratic equations have a form like that too, a form that can help us get a little bit more information, and it's called vertex form. Vertex form. And it looks like this. Y is equal to a times the quantity x minus h, quantity squared, plus k. So just take a second to examine that and notice some things. Notice how it still has your x and your y, just like every other equation. But then it has these other letters in it. It's got an A, it's got an H, and it's got a K. Notice that it's minus here inside the parenthesis, minus H, and then it's plus K over here. So what do these letters, these variables, represent? Well, A is just a coefficient that's going to tell us a couple things. It's going to tell us how wide or how narrow our parabola is, or whether it's going up or whether it's going down, right? These would be positive and this would be negative, all right? What we care more about right now is, for vertex form, are the H and the K. So H and K represents a point, and I'll bet you can guess what that point is. HK is the vertex. It is the vertex of our parabola. So if we see a quadratic equation in this form, we don't have to do any work. We can instantly tell what our vertex is. We know what that starting point is, and it's really easy from there to find 2 points to the left and 2 points to the right. So let's look at a couple situations. Let's scroll down a little bit, give us some room. Let's say we have y is equal to the quantity x plus 2 squared plus 3. And so my first question to you is, for this, what is the vertex? What is the vertex? So take a second and pause and see if you can figure that out based on this equation. Again, I'll write it here. Y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. So what do you think our vertex is? Well, we're going to use these two numbers here and here in that order, but you've got to make sure you get the right signs on it. For this one, it's always going to be the opposite. X plus 2 means the vertex is going to be -2, comma, and then this one, the k, is always going to be the same, -2, 3. That's going to be the vertex for this equation. So if you were going to graph that and you needed to make your XY table, you instantly would know your very first point is -2, 3. And from there, you would go 2 points to the right of -2, -1 and 0, and 2 points to the left, -3 and 4. So this is automatically filled in for you right away. Okay, let's do a couple more of these. Let's go with, I'm going to do it over here. Y is equal to the quantity x minus 1 squared plus 5. So let's put the vertex over here. So pause and see if you can identify what the vertex would be. That point would be, and whatever the opposite of this thing is, because this is -1, it would be +1, comma, and then whatever this is, 5. So the vertex is at the point 1, 5. How about y equals the quantity x plus 4 squared minus 2? And one more, the quantity y equals the quantity x minus 3 squared minus 1. Take a second and fill in, identify your vertices there. So for this one, there's a 4, +4. So our vertex would be -4. And then whatever this one is, it's the same as this, because that's -2, it's going to be -2. So the point -4, -2 is your vertex. And then for this second one, again, we've got a -3. So our vertex is going to be +3. And then the same as this, -1. So when your equations are in vertex form, you instantly know what that starting point is. And from there, again, it's easy to find your 2 points to the left and 2 points to the right.